Sense, connecting sight, sound and life. Puppet Play with Sense Arts by Nikki Charlesworth.
Hello everybody, my name is Nikki and welcome to my Sense Arts and Wellbeing puppet making session called Puppet Play. Sense are committed to people living creative and active lives, so this session is auto-described, captioned and BSL interpreted. My workshop is inspired by the Sense Arts Connect manifesto created by visual artist Tanya Robb Webber. From the manifesto, I'm going to explore the theme of be bold and curious, as today we're going to be learning all about an old form of puppetry and how it is being adapted and reimagined in new puppet theatre over the world, whilst making our very own puppet from recycled materials. So, I'll start by introducing myself. I am Nikki. I'm a white woman with brown curly hair. I'm wearing a roll-neck jumper and I'm sat in front of a green wall. In front of me is a table, which is my workspace. To my right, I have loads of recycled materials that we're going to be using in this workshop. Things like juice cartons, tapes, egg boxes, margarine tubs, plus scissors and tapes. To my right, slightly in front of me, I have a metal puppet who I will be introducing properly shortly. And to my right, next to me, I have another puppet who I will be introducing shortly. The old form of puppetry we're going to be learning about is the Japanese Bunraku puppet. And the Bunraku puppet theatre was founded in the early 17th century. It's a form of puppet which is operated externally and requires 3 people to operate successfully. 1 person on the head and an arm, 1 person on the body and the other arm, and the other person on both legs. However, this is being adapted and reimagined to be suitable for different audiences and to be accessible for different performers. So I'm going to introduce to you 2 of my own puppets, which are inspired by the Bunraku puppet, but which I have adapted to be made accessible for me. So I've moved away from my original seating position. I'm now sat in the corner holding a puppet. This puppet is called Hoda. She's a puppet of a friend of mine. She's a Somali woman. She's wearing a purple headscarf with teal and yellow. She's wearing a multicoloured necklace, a yellow top and a long floating floral skirt. She has got 2 big eyes. Now she is an example of a Bunraku puppet who has been adapted so that I can operate her whilst sitting down. She doesn't have any legs. The bottom half of her flows and glides elegantly, which means that I can sit down and move her across the floor. I can get her to sit on my knee. She's now waving at the camera. So I'm back in my original position in front of my workspace table. Now I'm going to introduce to you the puppet that is just in front of me and on my right. His name is Grassa. He is made of metal. He's primarily sculpted out of chicken wire, but he has pieces of patchwork metal all over his cheeks, chin, forehead, eyes, and it all comes together as one puppet. His arm is similar, however that's wrapped in cabling. So he too is inspired by the Bunraku puppet. He is operated by 3 people who are all required to can move effectively. However, all his parts are separate and they break away and they are brought together again by the puppeteers. Hopefully you've had enough time to gather your materials, as now we are going to start making our puppet. Now this can be an activity for 1 person, or it can be an activity for 10 people. It's up to you. First of all, decide amongst yourselves who will be making what part of the puppet, because this will work similar to how the grassa puppet works. You're going to have separate pieces that are all going to come together to form one being. Now that you've decided who's going to be making what part, I will be offering hints and tips on how to think like a puppet maker. Tip number 1, draw your puppet first. It just helps to have on paper what you hope to make. You can draw this in very many ways. You can draw around your own hand. You could get someone to draw around your face. Or you could draw around anything which helps you get the shape that you want. Tip number 2, think about the materials you're using and how they help form your character, where your character is from, or how your character moves. For example, your puppet could have a plastic bag for its bottom half, so it just floats. Or your puppet could have cardboard tubes for its bottom half, so that it stomps and moves very rigid. Or the materials could hint at where your character is from. For example, grassa is made out of metal because his character worked at a canning factory. So this was to resemble the environment that he was from. Tip number 3, make your head eye-catching. One thing that I was always taught is that the head is the torch. And when you think about a torch helps you guide your way. So your puppet's head must do similar. Perhaps you could have 2 beady eyes, like I'm making with sellotape tubes now. Whichever helps make your head eye-catching. So, hopefully you have finished creating your puppet. I can't wait to see your bold and fantastic ideas, as now we're going to be moving on to manipulating your puppet, and I will be offering hints and tips on how to think like a puppeteer. No worries if you've not finished making yet, just pause this and pick up when you're ready. So tip number 1 is teamwork. It's really important you work together as a team, because when you think about it, you're effectively 3, 4 or 5 people working together to make one thing move in unison. So it is so important that you work together. Otherwise, you might end up with one arm up here and one head down here. Tip number 2 kind of links in with the teamwork. It's focus. Now, as a team, you need to make sure you're all focusing on that one puppet, because if you're focusing on the puppet, the whole audience is as well. But if you're looking away, like this, the attention is drawn from the puppet onto you. So it's really important that you remain focused. Tip number 3 is breath. Now it sounds odd, but when you think about it, breath is what separates your puppet from being a still object to an alive being. So together, you need to work together and work out how you're going to put breath into your puppet and give it the illusion of life. For example, there you have it. Thank you for watching my puppet play workshop. I hope you've learnt a lot and I hope you've really enjoyed your time. I can't wait to see what you create.
Sense. No one left out of life. Website sense.org.uk